and then you have guys like Bradford Freeman, who's a farm boy,
Yeah.
and he gets there, and he even takes leave into London, doesn't really care for it, and heads back to Aldbourne and never goes back to London again. So it affects the guys in the company different ways, but for the most part, it's almost always uniformly positive. Every account, everything that I've ever heard from the men, just such a warm affection for Aldbourne, and their time there.
And how are they living? Where are they based? Tell me about the Nissan huts, because we have a little section there with me and Shifty.
It's lashing it down with rain, and we're freezing cold, and so that's what Shift thanks.
Yeah, I know.
Right, we're here where the old Nissan huts were, and we've got a beautiful picture here that I think Joe Muccia gave us. Where we've got, this is Christiansen. It does look a bit like Fassbender. You can't mistake Randleman, and this is Dukeman, and I mentioned it before. Dukeman looks really good looking, so I don't know how Mark Lawrence got to play him, but obviously there was an oversight in casting. So I believe this is where they were, the NCOs, so the non-commissioned officers were stationed shortly before the Normandy jumps. Like this. We actually have another picture that shows where we are here. This stuff here. It's obviously the one's got rained on already. And look at these guys. Look at these likely lads here. Forrest Guth and Kenneth D. Mercier. And you can actually see, I believe that's the line of houses there. This is where the Nissan huts went in here. And the guys were here before the Normandy jump, I believe. We'll speak to Joe about this because of its proximity to Salisbury Plain, which is where they will be jumping out of planes and earning their jump wings. So anyway, that's enough. It's about the level of my history, as you know.
Well, they don't have a barracks area like you would think, a conventional barracks area, one building where you can store, you can house a company. So the 506 is forced to break up the companies into separate chunks to fit them in different areas. So for Easy Company, for the officers, some of them are billeted in homes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Some of them are billeted in the old rectory, which was the 2nd Battalion's headquarters. It's pretty much right.
The pub?
It's right across from the Crown. Yep.
Yeah.
The battalion headquarters is there, but there's also some officers billeting there as well. But the enlisted men are almost, except for some of the NCOs, are also billeted in homes. Most of the enlisted men are billeted in the stables and also in the Nissen huts. And it depended on who you talked to about. The Nissen huts were more like you could put a squad in. Right? So you have 12, 16, 20 guys in there in double bunk beds, and they would be able to hang their gear. One little potbelly stove, which they said did not heat them adequately enough in the winter. So it was always a constant struggle to find coal. Sometimes they found it from sources they shouldn't have been getting it from, but they would. But the stables, on the other hand, were much more compact. 4 men to a stable, 2 bunk beds, with enough room to put their gear and hang up their uniforms, and another potbelly stove, which was much more efficient in heating those smaller stables. But it was also very dark in there, and they could kind of gold brick a little if they wanted to get out of duty. But it made for a very compact and very congenial social experiment, so to speak, because you could have a city kid and a farm kid, or the mix and matching, but after a while most of them just got along really well with each other, and they play Jim Rummy, and they play poker, and they play pinochle in the relative privacy of a 4-man room. So it really worked out well for them.
They were able to, basic training, that must have been a luxury, actually.
Yeah, to have a bit of privacy, which they didn't really have for the most part in their early part of their military careers. So the stables are always looked back very, very warmly for the most part. Some of the guys didn't like them that much because there wasn't a lot of, if it was dark out, there wasn't a lot of light. But it gave them a place to go and have a little privacy and have a little time away from the mundane, the boys using, excuse the language, chicken shit of the army of those days.
Right. Yeah, because that's the thing with the army, isn't it? That a lot of people don't realize is like there's only so much training you can do, and the rest of it's just hurry up and wait. And the hurry up is just someone walking up to you and saying, do your top button up, and then 10 seconds later come around saying, undo that top button.
and don't forget, you still have the you have Captain Sobel there, he's actually by all accounts getting meaner because he's being forced to train the men in ways that he is falling below standard. He has a tough time with map reading, and he just has a tendency to not be able to hit the mark in field training, and it's becoming more and more apparent to a lot of the men, and so there's that oppressiveness that still hangs over the company at this time.